Okay, real talk here for a second. The AI coding race just got incredibly interesting. I want you to think back to the last time you spent hours just wrestling with a massive enterprise app. Or, maybe you were staring blankly at this cryptic Python error in your dorm room at 2 a.m., just wishing your AI tool wouldn't randomly lose the entire context of your codebase. We have all been there, hitting that exact wall of frustration. Well, Moonshot AI just dropped Kimi K2.7-Code. And right off the bat, I can tell you this isn't just some incremental patch or a tiny bug fix. We're talking about a massive open source update that is aiming to solve exactly those friction points. It's fundamentally going to change how builders, developers, and students work on a daily basis. Whether you're coding a scalable startup platform from scratch or you're just learning the absolute basics of Python, this explainer is going to show you exactly why this release matters so much. Okay, let's dive into this. Because whenever a new model of this caliber drops, the hype cycle immediately kicks in and asks, is this the open source GPT killer? It's a really bold question, right? But you have to understand why the tech community is just so desperate for the answer to be yes. For years now, developers have been locked into these proprietary ecosystems. They're paying sky-high API costs, they're sending highly sensitive code-based data to these corporate black boxes, and honestly, they're losing control over their own infrastructure. An open source GPT killer? That represents freedom. But look, in this explainer, we aren't going to just rely on the hype or some wishful thinking. We're going to unpack the actual data, deeply analyze how this model operates, and see if this update truly shifts the landscape of the AI coding race, or if it's just, another flash in the pan. Section 1. Breaking down the benchmarks, the K2.7 update. So, to really understand the hype here, we first need to look at the core data. Moonshot AI has made K2.7-Code their absolute most capable coding-focused AI to date. And because it's open source, developers aren't just renting access anymore. They can actively audit the model, customize it, and build natively right inside their own secure environments. When you compare K2.6 to K2.7, the numbers are just striking. Notice that massive 31.5% improvement in the MLS Bench Lite results. But what does that actually mean for you in the real world? Well, MLS Bench Lite tests complex, multi-step coding tasks. A jump this large means the model is vastly superior at long-horizon coding projects. It's not just spitting out an isolated function or a single HTML file anymore. We're talking about generating hundreds of lines of interconnected logic across multiple files, retaining all that context, and successfully completing entire projects reliably from start to finish. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is, while everyone else gets super distracted by raw performance jumps and shiny benchmark scores, the most practical upgrade is represented by this single number, 30%. K2.7 boasts a 30% reduction in reasoning tokens. And honestly, this efficiency gain changes the entire math of how you interact with the AI. It fundamentally shifts the cost-to-performance ratio for literally anyone building at scale. Let's break down that technical jargon for a second. A reasoning token essentially represents how much the AI thinks out loud or spins through different possibilities before finally giving you a definitive answer. Older models, they have a bad habit of overthinking. They get completely lost in the weeds, wasting precious time and compute power just to arrive at a super simple conclusion. By cutting this overhead by nearly a third, K2.7 delivers significantly faster responses and dramatically lowers your API costs. But more importantly, think about agentic workflows. These are automated systems where the AI is making a continuous chain of decisions without any human intervention. When you have a complex AI agent running dozens of tasks a minute, that 30% compute time saving, it multiplies across every single step. It is a massive financial and temporal win for startups trying to scale their infrastructure without burning through all their cash. So just to quickly summarize these core improvements, we are looking at a significant jump in raw coding performance, noticeably improved AI agent behavior, and much better instruction following so it actually stays on task. We also have those enhanced capabilities for long-horizon multi-file projects and a 30% leaner reasoning process. What's absolutely crucial here is how these improvements stack on top of each other. Because the instruction following is so much tighter now, the reasoning process naturally becomes leaner. It doesn't have to sit there and guess what you want, it just executes. All right, let's move on to how this builds into actual tangible utility, officially closing out the hype portion of our explainer. Section 2. Show, don't just tell. The Startup Builder Workflow. It's time to shift our energy away from the lab and toward real-world application. How do you actually chain this tool into something useful?
Well, we're going to look at two distinct, highly practical workflows, starting with one specifically designed for tech entrepreneurs, indie hackers, and developers who just want to move incredibly fast. Our scenario here is building a simple SaaS appointment booking tool totally from scratch. Now, in the old world, getting a scheduling tool or a client dashboard off the ground was a complete headache. It meant a week of scoping, writing endless specifications, tedious back-and-forth communication, and maybe even dropping thousands of dollars to hire a freelancer just to get a buggy prototype that barely worked. But with K2.7-Code, we are talking about going from a mere idea to a fully functional prototype in literally a single afternoon. Let's deliberately walk through each step of this process. First, you define the scope. You prompt Kimi, and because of its incredible instruction following, you don't just get vague ideas. You get a highly organized, robust, real project plan. Next, you generate the landing page code. Easy enough. But step 3 is where the absolute magic happens, building the MVP logic. Thanks to that long horizon capability we talked about earlier, K2.7 isn't just handing you fragmented snippets. It is generating self-referencing code across multiple files, seamlessly linking your front end to your back end database. Then, in step 4, you debug in real time. If there is an error, the AI doesn't just try to fix it blindly. It explains exactly what caused it. Say you have a misconfigured API key. It pinpoints the exact line and tells you exactly why the authentication failed. Finally, step 5, you iterate features smoothly because those reduced reasoning tokens keep the AI lightning fast and perfectly on context the whole time. Section 3, Show, Don't Just Tell, the student learning workflow.
Now, let's look at the second workflow, and honestly, this one is fascinating to me. While builders want pure, unadulterated speed, this model is genuinely excellent for education. Why? Because it actually takes the time to explain concepts rather than just blindly handing out the final answers. Think about the danger of AI making students lazy. It is so easy to just copy-paste a prompt and submit the code, right? But frame this scenario in your mind. You're a student using the AI to learn Python by building a hands-on expense tracker project. We are entirely shifting the dynamic here. Instead of using the AI as a quick shortcut to cheat on homework, you're treating Kimi K2.7 as a dedicated, extremely patient, world-class tutor sitting right beside you. It's a really necessary mental shift.
The steps for this are just brilliant. You start with the concept, asking for a real-world explanation of something abstract like recursion. Then you build a project around it where the AI actually comments on and explains every single line. But step 3 is the absolute best part. Break it on purpose. You literally ask K2.7 to introduce a bug into the code without telling you where it is. Maybe you tell it to quietly mess up a while loop. Or you paste in your own broken code and explicitly tell it not to fix it, just explain the conceptual error. This creates genuine learning friction, which is exactly how human brains actually memorize code logic. It forces you to think critically. Finally, step 4, you ask the AI to help you refactor it into clean, professional code for a killer portfolio piece. So, the crucial point is we need a reality check. Section 4, Limitations and Reality Check. Look, every AI has a ceiling, and as amazing as K2.7 is, we need to offer a highly objective, neutral assessment of where this model still falls short in the current landscape. And the contrast here brilliantly illustrates the exact problem. On one side, we have lab benchmarks, high performance on structured, very predictable tests, delivering those shiny 31.5% jumps. But on the flip side is the harsh reality of production environments, real-world code bases. Think about the pain of a real-world code base. They are chaotic, they're filled with undocumented legacy dependencies, total spaghetti code, and weird edge cases written by some developer who left the company 3 years ago. K2.7 is remarkably strong in the lab, but it desperately needs more real-world validation before anyone can confidently claim it's a wholesale replacement for navigating messy, undocumented enterprise environments. Looking at the current roadblocks, the most obvious one is ecosystem maturity. Kimi lacks the years of plug-and-play integrations, the wide plugin support, and the community tooling that Claude or GPT-4 currently enjoy. We also noted the need for that real-world validation. Furthermore, Moonshot promised a massive 6x high-speed mode performance acceleration for this model. Now, the community is incredibly excited about this, but actually scratch that. We can't be too excited yet because it still hasn't actually shipped. So we are stuck in a waiting game for that highly anticipated feature. And finally, getting the most out of this tool absolutely requires a collaborative mindset. Which brings us to a really vital philosophy. The tool is only as sharp as the person holding it. This addresses that final roadblock of mindset perfectly. I really want to remind everyone watching this explainer that Kimi Q2.7 is a collaborator. It's a powerful thinking partner. It is absolutely not a magic replacement for your own actual understanding of what you are building. If you don't know the core basics of what you're trying to achieve, the AI can only get you so far before you both just hit a brick wall. You still need to be the architect here. To bring it all together in our final summary, Kimi K2.7-Code is positioning itself as open source infrastructure for builders, teachers, and creators. We really have three main pillars here. First, its open nature gives developers the security and the freedom they've been craving. Second, its massive reasoning efficiency, that beautiful 30% reduction, saves serious time and compute costs. And third, its incredibly practical workflows make it a powerful asset whether you are scaling a fast-paced startup or just learning your very first programming language. While we can safely say it might not be a complete, undeniable GPT killer today, it is a highly serious, competitive option that definitely deserves a prime spot in your tech stack. It's shifting from just being a helpful chatbot to being core infrastructure.
So I'm going to leave you with this provocative question. What would you build in a single session if you had a tool this fast and capable working right alongside you? Really think about it. The possibilities are massive. And hey, before you go start building, please like, share, and subscribe, please, and drop a comment in the comment box. I really want to hear exactly what project ideas you are going to tackle with this. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you on the next one.